Hey guys, B Twice here. Today is Sunday, August 1st. Hope everybody had a good weekend. We are going to be taking a look at Boeing. Somebody reached out to me and asked if I could take another look at Boeing. So I figured I would throw it onto TradingView and that we would look at the macro level and then break it down to the micro level of exactly what I'm seeing. Um, so several weeks ago, somebody reached out to me and asked me if I could count up Boeing, and after a while of really, being mind blown about what I was seeing, because when I first looked at it, it looked like we had a series of 1 2 1 2. It looked like we were just seeing this ongoing 1 2 1 2 nest. Um, and I couldn't really figure out what exactly it was doing. And then the more I looked at it and I went to a weekly view and I really started looking at it, I started noticing that these 1 2 1 2 nests really started looking like we were seeing a series of three swing structures, meaning we were seeing a five-wave impulse up for an A, and then we'd move down for a B and then pop up for a C. So I was seeing a series of A, B, C moves. And when you start to see that, that honestly means that you're actually in either a WXY correction or you're in a WXY XZ correction, something along those lines. So after I started actually looking at it more and I started actually throwing that count on there, the A, the B, the C, and trying to make sense of it all, I actually drew the Fibonacci levels from the bottom during the COVID crash all the way up to where we were before the crash happened, so that I could try to make sense of all the different levels that we were seeing. And what I started to notice was there was a pattern. First of all, we had this uptrend line, right? So we had this uptrend line between the bottom and the last time that we came, and the low that we made with this C right here. So I drew this uptrend line. Mind you, I was doing this analysis somewhere right around here, before we were going to be coming down possibly to touch that uptrend line again. So with that being said, we had this nice uptrend that we were doing, but it appeared that we were doing a WXY move. So I went through, I did the counts, but I started to notice the trend. We'd pop up for the A, which broke the 76.4. We pulled back down close to that uptrend line. Then the next rally pulled us up and we went to the next Fibonacci level. Then we went back down below, we broke it, we hit this uptrend line. Then the next rally took us back up to above where we were on the 61.8, that other Fibonacci line. Then we came back down for a B, taking us back down towards the last Fibonacci level and close to that uptrend line. Then we rallied again, and what do you know? We break the next Fibonacci level. We broke the 50%. Then we came down, A caught support at the 61.8. We saw a pop for a B, and we were pulling back for a C. So as I was doing this analysis, we were somewhere right around here when I put the video out. And basically what I came up with was that if this trend continues, that we were going to see a move down towards the trend line. I didn't know we were going to touch it, but I figured we were going to go do a move down towards this trend line, and then we were going to rally off of it. And if this sequence holds true and we continue on the same pattern or trend, our next move for our wave A is going to take us back above the 50, and it should clear the last C or get somewhere in that ballpark, meaning we're looking at a 280 price range for our A. From there, we're going to get a three swing to the downside. Where's it going to take us? Well, it's going to take us close to the uptrend line. It's probably not going to touch it, unless the market's in a really bad spot. It'll probably be a little bit off at maybe 250, somewhere in that ballpark. Either way, we're going to have a three swing to the downside for B, and then we're going to finish off with a five-wave impulse to the upside for our C, which finishes off this blue Y, which finishes off this yellow Y. At that point in time, the market may be in a spot where it goes into a complete correction. Obviously, the S&P 500, the Nasdaq are getting close to a wave 5 top. Maybe this is where Boeing will be when that happens, and ultimately will head lower. Who knows? But if the trend held true, we were going to be dumping, and then we should rally from this level, and we should be going to 280. So obviously the market is all about risk and reward. So when you take trades, you want to make sure that you're taking these trades in a good spot, and then you know what your stop loss is, and then you know what your potential profit could be. So when I first did a video on Boeing, I talked about the closer you could get to the uptrend line and get a position, the better, because your stop loss would be right below the uptrend line, right? So like if you could get a trade at 210 and the uptrend line's 205, the most you can lose is $5 per share. Is not a whole lot, considering your potential upside here is $280 a share if this thing rallies back up all the way like it looks like it could. So this is what I was seeing when I initially put out the video and said, hey, if we can get a drop to the trend line, the closer we can get into the trend line, the better, because we should see a pretty nice rally, at least to the 250, 260 level, something like that. So that's the macro thought process behind what we're seeing. And I still do think that Boeing is going to have an impulse that's going to take us up to this 280 level as long as market conditions are favorable. Boeing just blew out earnings. It was really good. They did gap up. I expect us to fill that gap on the downside a little bit, but I do think we're going to head higher, and I do think that in the short term, maybe a month or two, Boeing's going to get back above 260, maybe even get all the way to 280 before we see a really big pullback. So that's the macro analysis of where I was kind of at in my head. Now let's jump into the micro. Okay, so on a micro level, this is where we entered our trade. So back here, somewhere around this 220 mark is when I made the video. I think it was the weekend after that Friday. That Friday we had a massive sell-off. So there was a lot of blood in the market. And then that weekend I put out a video. I was like, hey, Boeing was pretty beat up. There was a lot of dark pool activity right at the 220 level. So when I saw that Friday that Boeing was selling off pretty heavily, but there was tons of dark pool buying going on, that told me that, hey, somewhere near this trend line, we should catch a bounce. And that's what made me put out the video, because I said, hey, look at this. It's an interesting sequence going on, but ultimately, this is where I see it's going. And if we can get an entry close to this trend line, that's going to be a great dip buy. Monday morning, the market opened, and what do you know? Boeing ended up dropping all the way down, almost kissed the trend line, and that's where I ended up taking I actually doubled my position there because of the fact that we were on this downtrend line. So, or not downtrend line, but we're in this drop off near the uptrend line. So what are we seeing now? So what are we seeing now is that we actually had a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it looks like we had somewhat of like a diagonal kind of going on a little bit here. To the upside, but basically we had this 5-wave impulse to take us up to a higher one, and now we're backsliding, and this is where I said we'll probably fill this gap. So we'll probably fill this gap coming down, because we're coming down for a wave 2 right now. This wave 2 could be 220, it could be 217, it could be 212, it could go all the way down as long as it doesn't break the bottom that we set right here. So as long as it doesn't go below 204, that's still a valid wave 2. I don't think it'll go that low, but ultimately we are pulling back for a 2 right now. Hey, maybe it's shallow, maybe we've already bottomed here and then we rip, who knows. But from here, if you take an extension and then to try to figure out where your wave 3, 4, and 5 are going to be, you end up seeing that your wave 3 price target right now is going to be right around this 260, 267 range. Obviously, I'm guessing about where bottom's going to be, but where's our wave 5 price target? Our wave 5 price target's 280. Wait a minute, 280, that's the same price target we came up with when we looked at where A could potentially land. So you've got that confluence now between this wave 5, where it's going to be, and then that A. So does that mean that this for sure is going to happen? No, absolutely not. Nobody knows. Nobody knows for certain where the market's going to go on any given day, but it's our job to try to use the tools that we have to try to figure out with a high probability where it could be going. And then once we think we know where it could be going, then we try to figure out where's the best spot to take entry. Down here was the absolute best spot to take entry because look, your stop loss is going to be right below this uptrend line. Now, where we're up here, if we were to take a position tomorrow at 225, where are you going to have your stop loss at? Because technically invalidation's all the way down here at 205. So this isn't a really good area to be buying this name, in my opinion, because we'd want it to be lower. Maybe we wait to see what tomorrow does, and if tomorrow it dumps a little bit, then maybe we start to see, hey, was this an A, is this a B, and then we're coming down for a C. That would be a spot that then you'd pick your C price target, and then you'd make your entry there. But with that being said, I do still think Boeing is going to go higher. Time will tell, I guess, at this point, but we'll see what happens. All right, guys, if you like these videos, go ahead and hit a like and subscribe.